Hola, buenos días. Bienvenidos a mi clase de español de hoy. Otra vez. Casi en directo. Everybody, just a quick reminder. Bienvenidos, welcome, bienvenidos. And these two little yellow words that we looked at last time, and I said they're really important small words in Spanish. A mi clase. A means to. De español de hoy. Of Spanish, of today, literally. So de means of. A, to, de, of. And we've seen hoy now a few times, means today. And I introduced you to otra vez last time as well, which literally means another time. But it's the way the Spanish say once again, otra vez. Casi means almost or nearly. So if I say casi en directo, almost live. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? Yo estoy muy bien. ¿Y tú? Yo estoy muy bien. ¿Y tú? Muy bien. Espero que sí. If I say espero que sí, it's kind of I hope so or I hope so, yes. Sí is yes in Spanish. Regular if you're okay but you're not having a great day. Y mal, which is bad. Y espero que no. I hope not. I hope you're not bad. Espero que no. Espero que sí. Espero que no. Bueno, okay. I did post in class charts that it would be a good idea to have this sheet to hand. I've attached it as a PowerPoint in the Ep4 homework in class charts. It's not essential because I think we can work off the PowerPoint if you haven't got it with you or you haven't prepared it. You could also, if you haven't got a printer, you can open the PowerPoint that I've attached. I would download it first and then just open it to refer to it. It's just the version we'll see later on the PowerPoint might not be as well, it isn't as clear as you're seeing now. And actually, just before I move on, this will give you just at a glance, and we'll look at it in more detail, an idea of sort of the level of sophistication that we're going to hopefully achieve quite quickly with our Spanish. Here's the black and white copy that is within the PowerPoint. So if you want to print it, it's a lot cheaper to print something in black and white than it is in colour, but that's up to you. Okay. In addition, además, necesitas. So necesitas, you need. Un bolígrafo, a pen. Un cuaderno, exercise book. Una hoja de papel, a sheet of paper. So you need either un cuaderno or una hoja de papel. And you might have noticed the words, in fact we'll come back to this shortly, but yeah, we were talking about gender last time, and you might recognize from this the genders of some of the things we're looking at here. You don't need to write everything down. I'm going to give you sort of materials and resources that have got all of the language that you need. Okay. Bienvenidos. Welcome a episodio 4, to episode 4. Bueno. Listo? Lista? So, do you remember I said bueno is like saying so or well. Listo if I'm asking a boy, you ready? Lista if I'm asking a girl, you ready? And I thought I'd help you with the idea of a shopping list. You're ready to go to the supermercado, the supermarket, supermercado, if you've got a shopping list, not before. So think listo, ready. Entonces, and again, entonces is another little word that the Spanish use all the time to introduce what they're going to say. And again, it kind of means so. Entonces, yo voy a empezar. I am going to start. Voy a, I'm going to, and then whatever it is you're going to do. In this case, empezar, to begin or to start. Vamos a aprender. And again, if you remember, vamos is we, or vamos a is we are going to. And in this case, aprender, think of apprenticeship, apprentice, learn. Vamos a aprender, we're going to learn. but, primero, firstly, vamos a repasar. Vamos a repasar. So vamos a, we are going to, vamos a repasar. Think like it's quite logical. Repasar, to repass something. It's the way the Spanish say to review or revise. Es muy importante repasar. It's very important to revise. Okay, take a look at this slide and ask yourself, what can I remember? What can I remember? Look at the yellow highlighted items. What can you remember about the significance of these yellow highlighted items? Pause the video in a second, and then once you've had a little think about this, restart the video when you're ready, and you can congratulate yourself hopefully on how much you have remembered. So I would suggest pause the video now, come back when you're ready. Bueno, entonces, primero, let's look at the A and the O. The A and the O on the end of these nouns. Okay, so abuelo, abuela. So we probably remember abuelo, grandfather, abuela, grandmother. And we talked last time about the idea of gender, didn't we? And the fact that in Spanish, nouns, that's things, people and places, have a gender. They are, according to Spanish eyes anyway, they're either masculine things or feminine things. It's absolutely obvious, isn't it, with people? It's obvious that the word for a grandfather is going to be a masculine. It's going to be a masculine noun because a grandfather is a masculine thing, very obviously. Similar with abuela, grandmother is going to be feminine. Not so obvious though with other objects, for example. So if we go back a little way in our PowerPoint here and I go to here, you can see that a pen, for example, we wouldn't normally, as English people, have any idea what gender a pen would be. But the Spanish think that a pen, a bolígrafo, and notice the O on the end of that, is a masculine thing. That's the way they think of it. Similarly, un cuaderno, an exercise book, it's got an O on the end, tells you that the Spanish think that that is a masculine item, an exercise book, un cuaderno. But if we come down here and we look at the word hoja, hoja, notice you don't hear the H. Hoja is a sheet, and that's got an A on the end, and it's a very good bet that if a noun has an A, it's feminine. And if we needed to double check that, we could look at the word for that sits before it. So with masculine things like a bolígrafo and a cuaderno, the first thing to say is that they very often end with an O, not always, by any means. And if you want to say and whatever it is masculine, it's un. So it would be un bolígrafo, masculine thing. But feminine nouns like hoja, you would say una hoja for a sheet. Una. Okay? And again, abuela, the word for a grandmother, it's obvious that abuela is going to be a feminine noun because a grandmother is a woman. But an hoja, a sheet, as in a sheet of paper, we would have no clue, would we, as to whether that's a masculine thing or not, or a feminine thing. But if we see the word and we see that it's got that A on the end, it is a very, very good bet that it's feminine, and it is. Una hoja. Okay. So we've kind of taken care of un and una. So a grandfather, un abuelo, a grandmother, una abuela. The next little thing to notice, everybody, is how this, if you like, impacts on describing words and adjectives. So in lots of instances, again, not every case at all, adjectives that end in O have a feminine A ending usually as well. So the word for slim is delgado if you're describing a masculine thing as slim, but delgada if the thing is feminine or if the person is feminine. So if you want to say a slim grandfather, you will say, and actually if we just come back down to here as well and remind ourselves that this yellow highlighted section here is all about word order in Spanish. And if you want to sound very pro with your Spanish, make sure that you get your word order right. So don't think a tall and mean sister, think a sister, tall and mean. Don't think a kind grandmother like we've got here, think a grandmother kind. Don't think a long but interesting book, think a book long but interesting. Don't think a beautiful and wild wood, think a wood beautiful and wild. You get the message. So the describe-y bit comes afterwards in Spanish, just as it does in French. So if we want to say a slim grandfather, it's going to be un abuelo delgado with the O ending, because that's the masculine form of the verb slim. If we want to say a slim grandmother, una abuela delgada. Okay? And finally on this little section, I'm trying to get you into the habit of thinking of little hooks and ways that you can remember words. And sometimes it's much easier than other times, particularly if there's an English word that you can kind of link or hook up to with the Spanish word. So just a reminder, alto, alta, tall. I told you to remember altitude for height. And alto does mean high, and it means tall when you're talking about a person. Alto, alta. And if you wanted to say, for example, high prices in Spanish, you would use this adjective, and it would be precios or precios altos, for example. The high season, as in the time of year when you go on holiday and it's most expensive for your parents to take you away, the high season would be la temporada alta. La temporada alta. So it's used for high and for tall. The next bit we looked at, I think, was simpatico and antipatico. So again, the way maybe to remember these is to, as I have done here, link these together, because if you can remember simpatico, it sounds a little bit like sympathetic in English. So it's a bit of a leap, but if somebody's sympathetic, they're nice and they're kind. And the opposite, mean and nasty, is antipatico. So they really do fit together nicely, those two, simpatico, antipatico. And just at this stage as well, I'll introduce you to another little concept of pronunciation in Spanish, and that is these accents that sit over the vowel. And unlike in French, where the accent actually changes the sound of the vowel, in Spanish it's all about emphasis and stress. So this is telling me, so if we look at the word simpatico, it's telling me that that A is the vowel that you stress or you say most strongly. So we know it's not simpatico or simpatico or simpatico. We know that you say this word simpatico. Simpatico. And I always tell you guys when I'm in class to sort of imagine sort of bashing your fist into your palm as you say it, to remind you to stress it there. So it's simpatico, antipatico. Okay, so the accents, as they're called here, are all about stress in the word. So it's a pronunciation guide, really. Bajo, I told you to think of bass. Okay, so actually a bass guitar in Spanish is un bajo, but here we've got the word bajo as an adjective. Think of bass means kind of low, doesn't it? Low. So for a person, if you describe them as bajo or baja, it means short. But again, you wanted to talk about low prices, precios bajos, precios bajos. If you wanted to talk about the low season, it's a good time to go away on holiday when it's cheapest, outside of school holidays, unfortunately for us, but that would be la temporada baja, la temporada baja. So alto and baja, tall, short, high, low as well, so that they have different meanings. Next, gordo. Think about gorging yourself on food. Chocolate biscuits, crisps, cheese, whatever. You're going to get fat. Gordo or gorda. And finally, delgado. Now, this is the really tricky one because I can't think of any way of linking that to anything in English. You just have to make a special effort to remember it. So, delgado, slim, delgada, slim for a woman. Okay. Ahora vamos a escuchar. So we're going to, vamos a, again means we're going to, vamos a. Escuchar is the verb to listen in Spanish. Vamos a escuchar. Ahora means now. Ahora vamos a escuchar. Okay. You remember these phrases from episode 2, I think it was, when we talked about gender. And or it might have been episode 1. And what I'm going to do is quite simply give you a little listening test, and you can always pause the video if you need some thinking time. And quite simply, I'm going to say these phrases in Spanish in a random order, and you have to pick out the correct English phrase that matches it. And just to introduce or to review basic numbers, I've put the numbers here, 1 to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm just going to use one of the numbers here as a pronunciation guide again for you, because the number 6 is a brilliant way of remembering how you pronounce the E and the I in Spanish. So because the great thing about the Spanish language, unlike French and English, is the vowel sounds are always the same. Whenever you see an E in Spanish, okay, it is going to sound like AY, okay, like the AY in bay. Okay, so it's A. So A is the sound of the letter E in Spanish. I is the sound I, like bit, I, bit, I. So if you want to say 6 in Spanish, it is seis, seis, seis. And it's great to contrast it with the word for 7 in Spanish. And I must just point something else out which confuses people, I think, sometimes, particularly if you've done French before. And it's this. Often in French, the E on the end of something, you don't hear it, so you might expect it to not, you might expect not to hear it at all. But in Spanish, that E is always, you always hear the vowels, basically. So here, if the number 6 is seis, can you think to yourself how you might say the number 7 in Spanish? It's tricky, I think, for some people to work this out, but have a go. So if you think it is siete, then well done, because that's exactly how you pronounce it. Siete, seis, siete, seis, siete. Okay, so that's how the E and the I are pronounced in Spanish. So just remember those two numbers, and it's a very good guide. So let's do some listening, and you're going to do a little bit of listening and then spotting the matching sentence as I do it. We're going to do the first one together just so you understand what you're doing. So if I was to say un abuelo gordo, un abuelo gordo, un abuelo gordo, which sentence, and if you could write down the number in Spanish, that would be great. Which phrase or sentence am I saying if I say un abuelo gordo? And I will repeat them 3 times. Okay, so have you written that down? Excelente. Entonces, so if you wrote down dos a fat grandfather, you would be absolutely spot on. Un abuelo gordo. Un abuelo, grandfather, gordo, fat. So a grandfather fat, because remember the word order. Right. Vamos. We've seen vamos a, by the way, haven't we, to say we are going to do something. Vamos a repasar, we're going to revise, or vamos a aprender, we'll aprender, apprentice, we're going to learn. Vamos a aprender. But if you want to say kind of let's go in Spanish as well, you could just say vamos, vamos, let's go. Yeah, vamos. Entonces, so, vamos. So I'm going to say 5 of these phrases to you in Spanish. You're going to write down, for example, if you think the first one I mentioned is number 7, you could write down siete, a short and mean brother, for example, por ejemplo. Entonces, vamos. The first one I'm going to give you is una hermana delgada. Una hermana delgada. Una hermana delgada. Okay, that's the first one. So you're going to write down in Spanish, hopefully, the number of the phrase that matches. Second one, un hermano bajo y antipático. Un hermano bajo y antipático. Un hermano bajo y antipático. Okay, that's the second one. Next one is una abuela simpática. Una abuela simpática. Una abuela simpática. Okay, that's the next one. Fourth one will be un abuelo alto y simpático. Un abuelo alto y simpático. Un abuelo alto y simpático. Okay? Y por último, finally, or ultimamente, ultimo has the idea of ultimate or last, really, isn't it? So lastly, ultimamente, or por último, you can say. So the last one is going to be una hermana delgada, simpática y baja. Una hermana delgada, simpática y baja. One last time. Una hermana delgada, simpática y baja. Okay. Bueno, entonces, so let's go through them quickly together. The first one, if you wrote down uno, una hermana delgada, a sister slim, well done. Muy bien, muy bien. If you wrote down for the second one, siete, again, you would be spot on. Correcto. Un hermano bajo y antipático, a brother short and mean. Un hermano bajo y antipático. Next one, if you wrote down cuatro, a kind grandmother, well done. Muy bien. Un abuelo, una abuela simpática. Una abuela simpática. A grandmother kind. Excuse me. Next one, if you wrote seis, a tall and kind grandfather, muy bien. Un abuelo alto y simpático. Alto y simpático. And finalmente, finally, if you wrote ocho, una hermana, a sister, delgada, simpática y baja. Una hermana delgada, simpática y baja. Okay? So that sort of completes that little listening exercise, and I'm hoping that you're finding that a lot of this language is really starting to sink in quite nicely. Now, at this stage, I wanted to go through one of the key resources that we're going to use. But in fact, and this is the resource that I've asked you to print off or to have to hand, but I think given that we're at the 25-minute mark now on this video, I'm probably going to stop at this point, and we will look at this in the next lesson, which will probably hopefully be out on Monday for you. And as I say, it gives you an opportunity to find this and print it off anyway. And we'll be looking at some quite a variety of language, which is going to allow us to really start to build up some quite nice complex sentences. And we'll also, as you can probably see down here, start looking at some colours and reminding ourselves of colours, or if it's for the first time that you've seen them, we'll be introducing the colours. Okay, I think that is enough for today, and I'm going to say three things. Hasta luego, which is kind of until then. Luego means then, or next actually, so until then or until the next time. Hasta pronto. Pronto means soon, so if you want to say see in a bit or see you soon, it's hasta pronto. And finally, hasta la próxima vez. Hasta means until, and próxima vez means next time. Do you remember we saw vez? We saw that in the context of otra vez. Vez means time, as in one time, two times, three times. Otra vez means another time, or once again in Spanish. And la próxima vez means the next time. So you've got three ways here of saying goodbye using hasta. Hasta luego, hasta pronto, see you soon, hasta la próxima vez. And look, there's an accent there which tells you it's próxima. Hasta la próxima vez. Adiós.